Well, good evening. My name is Fred McKinney, and this is the 2021 People's United Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship pitch competition. And this is the third and final round of the pitch competition. And so this has been a very competitive activity, and all of the presenters tonight are deserving of recognition for the excellent hard work that they have done putting together their presentations and thinking about their businesses. So I am very pleased with our competition. They did an excellent job a week ago in the semifinals, and it was their performance there that led them to be selected to be our finalists. So I want to remind all of our guests tonight that if they are not presenting, to keep their cameras off and to mute their microphones. So that will be very helpful so we can limit the distractions to the students and the presenters. So Hannah, can you start the presentation? And put it into, okay, thank you. So again, as I said, this is the 2021 People's United Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship pitch competition. So again, my name is Fred McKinney. Can we go to the next slide, Hannah? And we have three excellent judges tonight. Anthony Price, who is the founder of Loot Scout. And Loot Scout is a business that helps entrepreneurs and innovators access and find alternative sources of financing to get their ventures started. So very important person to have with us this evening for the entrepreneurs who at some point might be looking for additional funds from creative and supportive financiers. We also have Michael Casparino, who is the retail president for People's United Bank and one of the sponsors of the People's United Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And finally, we have Michael Harris, who is the New Haven Innovation Collaborative Director. And the New Haven Innovation Collaborative is an organization of private and public leaders who are trying to build a stronger entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem in the greater New Haven area. So they're very interested in hearing from the students, and those are our judges. So can we go to the next slide, please? Just a little bit about the rules. We have 7 finalists tonight. They know the order that they will be presenting. And the timing, each team will have, or each participant will have 10 minutes to present. There will be 4 minutes for the judges to ask questions. And then there will be a 1-minute transition to the next team. Time will be strictly enforced. And I'm going to ask Samantha Tran, who is one of our graduate assistants at the center, to put a note on the screen when we get within 1 minute of the time that the students have before they wrap up their presentation. And so you'll see it on the screen, and 1 minute means 1 minute. And so we will cut you off at the 10-minute number. Next slide, please. So our first presenter tonight is Kali Purdue. And Kali, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Callie Purdue. I am a sophomore 3+1 Media Studies Communications major, and today I will present my pitch on my business, Refashion. Thank you. The problem I'm fighting directly is fast fashion. Now, what is fast fashion? Fast fashion is a term used to describe the highly profitable business model based on mass producing trendy clothes at a low cost. Some examples of contributors to fast fashion you've heard of are Shein, Cupshe, and Romwe. It affects our oceans and environments. Textile waste and dyes are being dumped directly into oceans and rivers, causing intense pollution for the animal life that live there. It's also affecting labor workers in low-income Asian countries. Garment workers do not have rights or regulations protecting them. There's lots of abuse that go on in these clothing factories, and they make far below what is considered a living wage. It's also overwhelming our landfills. There's too many clothes going into the landfill every second, and not enough of it is able to be broken down in a timely manner. It continues to pile up faster than it can break down, causing them to overflow. The solution to this crisis. My app, Refashion. Refashion has many features to it that help fight the problem directly. These features include the buying and selling of high-quality secondhand clothing, a GPS locator for thrift stores in your area, education on fast fashion, resources and education involving sustainable living, and tips and tricks to implement in your daily life on how to ease the transition to sustainable living. Now, there's both a community and national essence within my app. Worldwide shipping is offered, but for an added cost. And once an item sells on Refashion, it will automatically charge a 10% fee on the sale price, including the shipping costs. Many components to my app are similar to how social media is structured. And during the startup phase, Refashion will incorporate users as influencers and highlight small businesses. Next slide, please. You could click on the pitch prototypes. So the first image is the resources page, which I believe makes my app unique. So there's 4 sections to it. The first section is what is sustainably living look like? Now, this is just kind of an introduction of what sustainable living is and what it means and how to implement it in your life. The second one is the list of brands to support that are eco-friendly. So a lot of people will go to the mall and buy clothes and have absolutely no idea where they come from or how they're made. Now, this is a section of my app that combats that issue. We advertise brands that implement eco-friendly methods when making their clothes. The third section is education on fast fashion. So this is more information that I touched on in the beginning, just education on fast fashion in depth and information on the fashion industry in general. The fourth one is tips and tricks to ease the transition to sustainable living. Now, sustainable living can be a little bit overwhelming for people that haven't been exposed to it. So we're trying to ease that transition and make it, ease that transition and make it easy for people to implement it in their daily lifestyle. The second image is the sign-up page. So Refashion's logo is present at the top, and the sign-up page is pretty self-explanatory. You just input your full name, your email, and then create your password, and then you can become a member of Refashion. The third image is an example of a personal mock shop. So at the top where it says Cali Shop, that's completely customizable to each user. They can use their name or a pseudonym, it doesn't really matter, whatever each user feels comfortable with. The heading photo is also customizable. You can change the imaging completely, you can change the color palette, and then you can also implement lettering within it. You really want to make it unique and attractive for other users. Also, each item is listed with a general caption, and once you click on that item, you'll be led to more details. This is unique to the personal shop versus the quick shop, which I will get into more detail later. The fourth image is how you upload to your shop. So in the first section is the overview, which has the shipping details, the price, and then any additional notes for shoppers. The second one is the description, so what your item is. The third one is the category. Are they pants? Are they jewelry? Is it a dress? Is it a skirt? And then the fourth one is the size, if it's applicable, obviously. And then Refashion does include a sizing guide as well. And then also there is a personal caption. We highly promote users to use this personal caption, and we also promote them to use hashtags. The same reason we want them to use hashtags is similar to a social media. You use hashtags to describe your items so people throughout the quick shop can find your item easily, and if they're looking for something specifically, it'll come up easily. The fifth image is a glimpse into the private messages between users. So users are able to private message each other with questions, and this is a section of the community aspect of the app. It's also an opportunity to advertise your shop to other shop owners, especially if you're new to Refashion and you want to reach out to other shop owners to advertise your shop. So you could, advertise, oh, I listed a bunch of new items, check it out. I really liked your shop. Are you doing bundles, swaps, trades, things of those sorts? The sixth image is the quick shop. So this screen serves as the main feed for shopping. It includes randomized items from various shops holders based on your likes, saves, and the hashtags that you've clicked on. It displays the general caption, price, and size, which again is unique to the quick shop versus the personal shop. It is set up this way for users to quickly browse throughout items instead of having to click on it and to find out the size and the description and the price and things of those sorts. But when you click on each item, it will bring you to a screen with more information and descriptions of that item that the user uploaded. The seventh image is the thrift store or yard sale locator. So users enter their zip code to find stores and yard sales in their area. Also, every yard sale listed is secure with the user's information and not given to the public. Then if you could click cart, please. The eighth image is how users pay. So Refashion offers users to pay with any debit or credit card of their choice, and we do not partner with PayPal or any company for payment methods. And then if you could go back to the slides, please. So the cash flow. So combating the social issue is my main priority. Though to successfully sustain my business, I will be looking to make a profit. In the future, the dream would be to donate at least 40% of the proceeds to the Center for Sustainable Fashion. This is an excellent organization that they focus on research and helping garment workers in other countries and incorporating eco-friendly methods throughout the fashion industry. And then I'm just going to say my slogan: resale, reuse, and together we can refashion the world. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Kylie. Very good. Excellent presentation. So we'll go to the question and answers from the judges at this point. So Michael, Anthony, and Michael, we have two Michaels. The two Michaels and Anthony, can you unmute yourselves and direct your questions to Kylie?
Absolutely, Fred. Thanks for having me here today. Happy to be here. Anthony and Michael, happy to join you on the judging panel. And thank you, Fred, for the invitation.
You're very welcome.
Callie, I enjoyed your presentation, particularly sort of the breadth that you're bringing to the perspectives of the social issue and the motivation, and it was very polished. In thinking about what this means as a business, there seem to be sort of 3 or 4 major components to how you were addressing this social challenge. And the first was sort of offering like a buying guide in which you were promoting individual shops and brands that were sustainable and wage conscious. The second was sort of education and consumer information. There was a social media platform aspect, and then you were actually listing or selling individual products. Of those, I was wondering, in looking at how you're going to be supporting this in a business model, I was wondering, which of those you were seeing to be the main revenue driver, whether that was going to be leaning into, for example, badging and certification process for different brands, or if it was acting as a marketplace yourself online.
So the main means of profit would definitely be from like the buying and selling of the clothes, because Refashion does not, it doesn't cost anything to make an account, and the profit does come from when someone sells an item on Refashion. But again, like every component of Refashion is important to me, and yeah, I hope that kind of answers your question.
Absolutely. I think, there's 2 interesting opportunities that come to mind here. One of them is, if you do gather enough users, that your platform becomes appealing to businesses to, take the vig, as it were, or the cost of participating in your marketplace. But that does require a critical mass. I'm really intrigued primarily by the partnership with thrift stores and yard sales, because I think this could present a really interesting arbitrage opportunity, where if what you're offering is a digital marketplace for stores that currently don't have that infrastructure, that really could be a great way of digitizing that customer experience. I'm wondering, what that would require as far as fulfillment and actually managing the logistics of it. But that seems like a really compelling opportunity, rather than trying to compete with, individual Squarespace or Amazon sites that, if you're running a more of a boutique, those might be more compelling options to, create your own store online. But if what you're offering to thrift stores is to come in and do a lot of that legwork, I think that's a really compelling business proposition.
No, exactly. Yeah, I would definitely advertise to like local businesses and shops in my area. Especially with COVID happening, lots of small shops are looking to expand their business, their online presence as well too. So I would definitely advertise for them because it's not just about growing my business, but it's about growing theirs too.
Yeah. I'll leave a little bit more time for the other judges, but I would encourage you to think as well about even doing the actual staff work to reach out and say, take inventory. A lot of these thrift stores are running on very small margins, essentially as nonprofits. But helping them to take inventory and handle the fulfillment could be an interesting model.
Thank you.
Great. Good afternoon. Hi, Callie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Mike Casparino. Okay, Anthony and Michael, thank you so much for being judges. I look forward to working with you today in the next couple of hours. And Fred, thank you again for the invite. Really appreciate it. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Great. Thanks for having us here.
Mhm.
So, Callie, I liked your presentation. I thought you did a really nice job. A couple quick questions for you. I don't know how much, we don't have a lot of time, so I'll go pretty quick here. So, in regards to your growth aspect, you talk about when you make enough money, you would donate it back, and you have some plans here. So I got a question for that in 1 second. But right now, in regards to training, what kind of staff do you think you would need? And as you grow, how will that staff look different? And how do you expect to train them? What kind of skill set do you expect them to have? And what kind of resources will you need to make sure that staff is effective?
Are you talking relating to like the software or like the small businesses that I would incorporate throughout my app?
I would say pretty much all the above, but you don't have to get specific. I just know that as you grow and you expand and this concept takes off, everything's going to start multiplying quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where you can get into a little trouble. So I just wonder if you had any plans for that.
Yeah, so I would definitely start with my main focus for like small shops. I'm originally from San Diego, California, so I would probably base it off like small shops and areas in that area. And when it has to do with like small businesses, like advertising or selling on my app, that's mainly like staffed for themselves. I don't do too much when it comes to like how they sell their items. But in regards to like the software, I would definitely be looking to partner with someone that, obviously I don't have like the expertise to develop the software myself. So I would be looking to partner with someone that kind of has that expertise. And I would love to partner with someone that's like in the collegiate area, because I think like young entrepreneurs definitely benefit from each other. But if that wasn't possible, I would definitely look into like a larger corporation, but that does mean like more money and less hands-on within my business.
Great. Good response. Excellent. My second question is, who actually governs or oversees the Center for Sustainable Fashion to make sure that the resources, make sure that the funds are going in the right direction as things change, as the world changes, as the world's actually.
Yeah, so that organization is based out of London. It's actually based out of the Fashion Institute, and they're very research focused.
Really? Okay. All right. Great. Well, great job. You did a really nice job. You put a lot of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Callie. You did a great job. Really impressed with what you did. I think you may have stumbled on an opportunity for a two-sided market where you have the yard sales, which I'm really interested in. I know Michael touched on that. Michael Harris touched on that, but the yard sales and people that love going to yard sales is sort of like a scavenger hunt. I think that's a great opportunity to kind of professionalize the yard sales. Have you thought about that as maybe the bigger opportunity, or do you all see the opportunities sort of as equal?
Definitely. That's like a huge aspect of what makes my app unique among like the other buying and selling quality or secondhand clothing like Depop or Poshmark or Mercari. So definitely I would be looking to capitalize on that aspect for sure.
And then last, do you see yourself as a local play, or do you see yourself as a national company?
So both. I think I would, in the beginning, I do want to focus locally because fast fashion excludes small businesses and local businesses. So that is kind of where my emphasis is in the beginning. But once I grow, definitely I want to be in like the national essence of the app.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, Kali. Excellent presentation. Let's go to the next presenter. And I think we have James Booth.
Yes, hello everyone.
James,
So-
the floor is yours.
My name is James Booz. I'm a senior marketing major, and tonight I'll be presenting my company Gone Greek, which I started in my dorm room back in 2019. When I was a freshman, I decided to join a fraternity, and after a year of being involved, I took the position as the PR chair. This meant that I was in charge of ordering the t-shirts for our events. So the first thing that I did was research different companies that produce Greek life apparel. And you can go to the next slide. I immediately noticed a lack of creativity and originality in the designs these Greek apparel companies offered. I also noticed that the various Greek apparel company websites lacked proper organization, making it hard to navigate. I knew that in the past, my fraternity would order from these Greek apparel companies, and the turnaround was very slow. The shirts sometimes took over a month to arrive. At the time, I considered myself a good artist and very creative. So I decided to learn Photoshop and make my own designs for the events we needed apparel for. I searched for the closest t-shirt manufacturer in Hamden to produce my designs. At the start, I was designing the shirts primarily for fun and my own satisfaction. It was when I went into the manufacturer's office for the first time to pay for the shirts that I noticed how profitable the business was as he charged my fraternity's credit card. After handing out the shirts to all the guys, I realized how much they all liked my work. It was at this point I had my vision to create Gone Greek. I was very familiar with the target market, as most of my friends were in Greek life, so it was a no-brainer to try and start a business out of it. And you can go to the next slide. After analyzing my competition and knowing what my target market wanted, I decided to position Gone Greek as a Greek life apparel company that provides our customers with affordable, easy to order, hand-drawn designs printed on high-quality apparel. I placed a focus on website development to ensure the site was easy to navigate. I marketed the company in a way that showed my target market how easy it was to talk to the designer and discover their needs, as well as providing our clients with a turnaround time less than 2 weeks for a price that was lower than my competitors. I developed a very integrative marketing channel to increase our brand awareness. I also started an affiliate program where clients were asked to join our team and spread the word about what Gone Greek has to offer across their campus. This allowed Gone Greek to distribute its products nationwide. And as of right now, we have affiliates in Alabama, University of Maryland, Fairfield, and you can go to the next slide. So, as Gone Greek sells its clothing in both individual and bulk, I created 2 different methods when it comes to designing and distributing the apparel. The individual orders on my website are produced and fulfilled through drop shipping, meaning the only task I must complete is adding the logos to the various products, and when they are purchased, I hit fulfill. From there, the apparel is pressed and shipped to my customers. I call this the hands-off approach. This allows me to place a higher focus on my bulk order clients. For my bulk orders, I go through a set of steps to funnel my clients from start to close in order to shorten the sales cycle and increase turnaround time. The current channel distribution, seen in the bottom left, shows how the manufacturers capture most of the profits from the orders. My desired future channel distribution shows my goal where I'm ordering apparel in bulk and designing and manufacturing them myself. This will place me as a channel captain, allowing me to earn a higher profit margin and give me more control of my business. You can go to the next slide. After my first 2 years of being in business, I analyzed my sales and discovered Gone Greek achieved over 50% growth. The goal of a 50% growth rate each year for the next 5 years was projected to be achievable at the rate my company is growing. This assumption was used when projecting Gone Greek's financial cash flow over the next 5 years, as seen in the income statement on the right. Therefore, Gone Greek has the potential to generate over $136,000 in total sales and $47,000 net income by year 5. This projection is assuming Gone Greek's growth rate continues at 50% each year and the cost of goods sold remain the same, using my current channel distribution. In reference to the pie chart on the bottom right, 7,507 t-shirts would have to be sold to achieve this goal. If Gone Greek was to successfully shift its distribution channel to the desired future state I discussed in the previous slide, our profit margin and net income would be much higher. As of today, Gone Greek sold over 2,000 shirts, resulting in sales exceeding 33,000 from the spring of 2019 to spring 21. And you can go to the next slide. To reach my desired future state, I would need a printing press, which would allow me to manufacture the clothing myself. This press would allow me to use up to 8 colors in my designs, as I was previously restricted because of manufacturing fees. I'll be pressing the shirts myself, so I looked into how much time of labor would be occurring. On average, a bulk order includes around 100 shirts. Each t-shirt on average would take 30 seconds to press. This means that it would take 50 minutes to press 100 shirts. A machine like this costs around $1,500. In addition, I would like to get my site back up and running after finding out I didn't have the correct licensing to legally have the products up. If I was to obtain this Greek license, it would give me the rights to every organization on my website. This licensing would also allow me to reach new users, as certain chapters down south require visual proof of this licensing before the shirts are ordered. I would also be able to reach new users, as certain organizations go through Affinity Gateway to find licensed vendors, increasing my sales and brand awareness. I have 30 fraternities and sororities on my website, meaning the application fee of this licensing would be approximately $600. The annual renewal fee would also be around $600, and a royalty per sale of around 8 to 10% would be required. Thus, it would cost around $2,500 to $3,500 to reach the desired state I just discussed. If I was to place in this contest, the money would go directly towards the licensing and the t-shirt press. And you can go to the next slide. In attempts to increase Gone Greek's brand awareness, I decided to create a video displaying my journey throughout the first 2 years in business. This video is also created to run targeted social media ads through Facebook and Instagram. And you can click play on that. Yeah, so it seemed like it was a little bit jumpy there, but that's a video that I created, and that's all I have for my presentation tonight. So thank you all for your time, and I'm open to answer any questions you guys might have.
Thank you. So we'll start this round with Anthony first, Michael Harris second, and Michael Casparino to wrap it up.
Okay, I'll start off. By the way, before I get started, James, great job. Really impressive presentation. One of the things I was really impressed with was the actual experience that you have. There's no substitute for experience. So you've done a great job with learning. What is the total market opportunity? I know there's X amount of fraternities throughout the country. What's the total market spend in annual basis? And what do you think that you might be able to get once you ramp up?
Well, as I previously stated, there's 9 million members in Greek apparel or Greek companies or in Greek life nationwide. So just capturing fraternities and sororities at Quinnipiac was able to provide me with the numbers that I showed in my year one. And I started to branch off a little bit, but that is just such a small percentage of the market share that I could reach. And with putting money into marketing through social media and stuff, I believe that it'd be super easy to find different chapters across the nation, as well as using my affiliate model to have different people in Greek life working for me, commission-based, ordering shirts for their fraternity or sorority, and then getting a little bonus out of it.
And just one last follow-up in terms of marketing, I think that's always a challenge with any business. What do you think what method do you think will yield your greatest results in terms of bringing in business?
So I have a Instagram account. It's a Gone Greek Instagram, and I do a lot of stuff on there. And then I also have my affiliates start Instagram accounts. So like they'll have like Gone Greek Ohio State, Gone Greek Maryland, and then they'll follow all the people in Greek life that they know at their school. And it kind of like segments it per school just to bring people to the website. Additionally, through LinkedIn, I find my affiliates, and people who have ordered in the past, I ask to be an affiliate. That is usually the highest driver of reoccurring sales. Also through Facebook Marketplace, and there's a bunch of different groups on Facebook. There'll be like a Kappa Delta Facebook group with 500,000 members. Posting a link in there sends tons of traffic to the website.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, James, a great presentation. I'm particularly impressed by what seems like a very clear plan for, the model that you've built and what you'll use this award for. I encourage you to check out Make Haven in downtown New Haven. As a makerspace that does have a t-shirt printing community that might be potentially helpful. The heart of my question relates to how do you envision the challenges of scaling from here? And there's a few aspects to that. The first is that Greek life t-shirts seem a subset of the total custom t-shirt market. And as you're doing the marketing and connection and sales, you're doing the design that's custom for each client, and you're trying to step into the space of doing the production, you're competing with a few different business models that operate at scale. So I'm wondering, how do you envision tackling that challenge? I'm assuming that some of these custom t-shirt companies, for example, are using perhaps more advanced equipment than just, that $1,500 machine. And your time, could be best used on sales and acquisition, could be best used on design, could be best used on scaling the business of the company. So what do you see as how you would grow, given that you're currently handling everything yourself?
So if I was to shift to the desired future state that I discussed, I would be having to press the shirts myself, along with all the other steps that you just discussed. I do have an artist who does a lot of the hand-drawn designs. He'll send me the picture, and then I'll put it on the Photoshop. But cutting a step out would be hiring someone to do the graphic designing, as I'll be earning a higher profit margin on all the clothing. From there, I'll have more room to put money back into the business at that point. Even if the shirts start coming in like crazy, I could have someone press the shirts for me if it's all backed up. Social media, we could have social media managers, and then the affiliates work for themselves. However motivated they are, that's how successful they'll be. And the e-commerce manager, that would be another person that I would be looking to hire if it was to scale how I project it to. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of promise in that affiliate marketing, and I think there's definitely an appeal for like a Greek to Greek sales contact. It's an ambitious thing to launch both a vertical integration and scale at the same time. But I'm very impressed by the plan that you have to do so.
Thank you.
James, great job on this. I can tell you have a lot of passion for this, and you've been doing it for a while, but it looks like you really enjoy it. You enjoy it?
I love it.
I can tell you do. So question for you. So I've been watching here for a while, and first thing that comes up, first thing you said about 2 or 3 times is that you have a much lower cost per item than your competitors. What percentage do you think you are lower than them? By how much?
Probably 25 to 30% lower.
It's pretty big.
And that's
Yeah.
that's
What do you
with
think?
that's as I'm having the shirts manufactured. I'll
Mhm.
get the shirts for around, depending on the number of colors and the number of prints, around $6, and I'll sell it for around $15. When my competition sometimes sells a t-shirt that's one color for $22,
Great.
which is probably a 200% increase, which is, I'm looking at it from a college perspective, and that's a ripoff.
So when I look at that, I look at costs as two components: fixed costs versus variable costs. Right now, you have a lot of variable costs, or the fixed costs. Do you need a facility to house this because of the products? Or are you kind of the manufacturer's rep here in between?
I'm a manufacturer's rep right now, so I'm basically designing the logos, emailing it to my manufacturer, and then he'll ship it to me or ship it directly to my clients.
Okay.
But if I was to shift, I would be able to do it straight out of my house.
Be great. That's really great. Any patents you thought about down the road that you want to try to pursue in this, what you have going on here right now?
I mean, I guess like certain design patents, I don't necessarily know how that works, but I would like to own the rights to a few of my designs that have been top sellers.
Okay. Great. And the last question I have for you is something I think Michael touched on, but I'm just looking at it here, mainly t-shirts. Is there any area that you would think that you would potentially try to expand your product line to another sellable item? That would be, what would that be? What would you think that would be?
It would be, so my secondary target market would be sports teams and other organizations that are in middle school, high school, college, all of those different outlets.
Sure. Big market.
Yeah, totally.
Right. Good luck. Nice job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you, James, and thank you, judges. And let's go to the next presenter, McKenna Haas. McKenna, you're up.
Thank you. I already see that it's the wrong. That's okay. We're going to go. This is going to be awesome. Okay. My name is McKenna Haas, and I am an MBA student here at Quinnipiac University and founder of CAV Athletics. Next slide, please. CAV Athletics was founded to create high-quality, sustainable athletic wear out of recycled materials and to help end the single-use plastic pollution problem on our shorelines. Next slide, please. When we dive right into the problem, consumers want athletic leisure that not only meets their fashion and functional needs, but also have the desire to purchase products that are sustainable and affordable. Thus, the athletic apparel industry is in need for a sustainable upgrade. Additionally, there are unnaturally high prices in the activewear industry, and the majority of these fast fashion brands are disconnected from a larger social impact. This year, just over 1 in 5 internet users said knowing a product is environmentally sustainable would increase their chances of purchasing it online. Next slide, please. At CAV Athletics, we are determined to lead the industry in a more circular model. We are here to make waves, not waste. Our goal by 2025 is to remove 1 million pounds of plastic from our shorelines. We are here to change the activewear industry by creating ethically and sustainably produced apparel for adventurous people. Almost all synthetic fabrics like polyester and nylon are made from plastic. We upcycle single-use materials that would otherwise congest landfills or destroy coastal habitats. From joggers to sports bras, everything in our collection have post-consumer water bottles spun into each piece. Additionally, through ocean cleanup initiatives, we remove 1 pound of waste from our shorelines with every item purchased. Next slide, please. We currently sell women's leggings, sports bras, and tank tops. And this week, we additionally launched new styles of women's ankle-length leggings, capri-length leggings, joggers, sports bras, and bike shorts. We also launched men's workout shirts and joggers. We put a lot of energy into the design process of our apparel. We've conducted multiple rounds of prototyping to ensure the perfect combination of RPET, as well as design aspects like reflective strips on the back of our Neptune shirts or the pocket features in all of our bottoms. Additionally, we make sure all our products are on trend. The average manufacturer and landed cost is $13 per item. We sell our items between $49 and $89. Next slide, please. We launched our Coastal collection in spring of 2020, and our Venora collection launches spring of 2021. In our first year of sales, we've made over $70,000 in revenue. And for our pre-order launch of the Venora collection, we've already made $12,000 in revenue. Next slide, please. The best part is our customers are loving our product. We have an 18% returning customer rate within a 6-month period. Customers are quoting saying, it's a guilt-free purchase, softest and most comfortable material, hugs all the right places, extremely high quality, best athletic wear out there. I love the fit and feel, high quality and perfect for workouts. Additionally, the sustainability aspect seems to be a common extra bonus with every review. Next slide, please. In our first year of sales, we are proud to say we have risen above COVID-19 and have diverted over 170,000 plastic bottles from both our ocean cleanup initiatives and repurposing into our apparel. Next slide, please. All of our textiles are made from recycled materials in our RAP certified facility in Indonesia. On top of that, every COV order arrives safely in 100% compostable mailers from no issue. Next slide, please. All of our ocean cleanup initiatives are facilitated through the Plastic Bank. It is a platform for the world to gather together to stop ocean plastic and alleviate poverty through a global recycling ecosystem. Next slide, please. The global sustainable athleisure market size was valued at $79.4 billion in 2019 and is expected to expand at a compound annual growth rate of 5% from 2020 to 2027. Next slide, please. At CFV Athletics, we serve men and women who are active and interested in health and wellness. The market size in the global fitness and health club industry has been steadily increasing. Rising revenues in the global sports apparel market are forecast to continue to reach around $208 billion in 2025. We have a strong marketing strategy revolving around sustainability and cleaning our oceans and can micro-target these customers to our e-commerce store. We started marketing in New England area and plan to expand across all of North America. Next slide, please. Our primary target market is men and women aged 18 to 35 in North America. We created CFV with the conscious consumer in mind. They love to be active and make a positive impact while doing it. We specifically target ocean lovers, gym goers, and adventure seekers. Next slide, please. CFV plans to introduce a secondary market while in the growth stage consisting of adults aged 36 to 50. This segment also enjoys exercising, seeks high quality clothing, and is passionate about the way they look. The adult segment provides a higher amount of income expenditure than any other age group. We had a pop-up in Boston right before Christmas, and we realized moms were just as interested in our line as their daughters. Next slide, please. Some key milestones to note in the past year is that we've reached over 10,000 Instagram followers. We've been featured on NBC and multiple podcasts. We've wholesaled to over 15 boutiques and yoga studios in the US. We've built a team of over 150 ambassadors from around the world, and we've now reached over $70,000 in revenue. Next slide, please. In our first year, the majority of our sales have been through organic growth. We've spent under $4,000 in advertising spend, and we've been able to grow our brand from our ambassador team, word of mouth, pop-ups, influencer relations, and wholesaling. We are currently looking to partner with a marketing agency to increase our reach. Our next steps will be to take our organic ambassadors and influencer content and push it through paid media and amplify this on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Google. We are expecting a 4 times return on ad spend based on our current average order value being $120. Next slide, please. Our tagline is make waves, not waste. We have strong eco-friendly values that is evident in every aspect of the company. A fun fact is sustainability, as well as keywords related to sustainability in fashion, increased by 75% in 2018. That included 27,000 searches specifically for sustainable fashion each month in 2019. Next slide, please. When looking at competitive differentiation, Girlfriend Collective and Woven are direct competitors to C of E. They are the primary online sustainable activewear companies in North America, positioning them as a direct marketing threat. C of E differentiates itself from these brands by ensuring 100% compostable packaging and that 1 pound of waste is removed from the Earth's shorelines with every purchase. Nike, Adidas, Lululemon, and Fabletics are indirect competitors to C of E and pose a threat of substitution. However, unlike these brands, C of E uses sustainable practices throughout the entire supply chain from the material to the packaging. These companies have more brand awareness, but we are certain that our customers will stay loyal to our brands because of our mission, designs, and prices. Next slide, please. Some key members of our dream team consists of our lead designer, Meom Han, graduating from the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. Our fulfillment team is led by Susan Oden at Indie Do Good. They work with businesses specifically doing good. My mentor is Baruch, who is the CEO of a successful swimsuit and athletic line out of New York City called Go Tech Studio. Our newest addition is Bobby Palmieri, the CEO of Quinnipiac Alumni, NCAA athlete and marketing major. Next slide, please. With $3,000 of investor funds, we would directly allocate it to our marketing growth plan for 2021 to continue to drive people to our online store, gain more subscribers, build our following, expand on our ambassador program and wholesale relationships, and most importantly, reach our goal of removing 1 million pounds of waste from our shorelines by 2025. Next slide, please. Here are our financial projections based on our 2020 sales. Our 2021 sales are as followed based on the inventory we will have in stock as of this month. We double this number in year 2022 and 2023. Our marketing expense is based on a 3 times return on advertising spend. These numbers were created from Bobby, an expert in the digital marketing industry. Admin is based off a fulfillment cost of $35,000 a year and adding an employee every year starting in 2022. Next slide, please. So next steps for expansion, we plan to hire Lilo Social starting May 1st to funnel our target market to our online e-commerce store to drive more purchases and to build more brand awareness. In 2020, we had over 40,000 visitors to our online store and under $4,000 of ad spend. With a monthly marketing budget of $10,000, our growth will expand exponentially. We are also currently in discussions with a target broker and hope to launch a C of E athletics sister brand in 2023 or 2024. Next slide, please. Thank you so much for your time and energy, and happy early Earth Day, everybody.
Excellent. Thank you, McKenna. So let's do Michael C this time, and then Michael H, and then Anthony.
Great. Okay. McKenna, I'm really impressed with your presentation as well. You did a really great job. You're living it too. Question for you: what challenges concern you about as you grow? What's your main concern?
Great question, Michael. I think the biggest fear I've had as a small business owner is the fact that I launched a week before a pandemic. Mm-hmm. So that was a lot of holy moly, what am I doing? We were originally supposed to launch at the Boston Marathon Expo, and that of course was canceled due to COVID. So we've had to completely divert to our online model, which has been great. We've been able to do a few pop-ups as well. And I've just realized our ambassador program is so huge. It's how we've been able to just keep funneling orders throughout these uncertain times because of COVID. Right. I don't have any massive fears just based off of how well we've done in our first year, especially due to the current circumstances. I think that there's definitely going to be more competitors coming on board with more sustainable practices, but I definitely invite that. That's the whole point. If it means one day flipping the fashion industry into being fully sustainable, I'll take on those competitors any day.
Well, great response. I know this is a crazy question, but I think it kind of in some ways helped you adapt. Did COVID hurt you or help you as you're developing?
That's a great question once again. I think I think it's 50-50. I think it's helped me in the sense that I now know how important online marketing is, and that's a huge emphasis moving forward, specifically with aligning ourselves with a marketing agency. What we've been hurt with is our pop-up events, just because we did have so much planned around working with small boutiques. We were working with yoga studios. We were also planning on working with festivals and doing pop-ups to really get word of mouth brand awareness so people can actually touch and feel our product firsthand.
Right.
So I would say 50-50.
You adapted well. I'm very impressed by that. I think you're going to find that it might have helped you more than it hurt you as this COVID goes away. So great luck to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hey, McKenna, great presentation. Happy to participate. A couple quick questions. What percentage of each of the products winds up being post-consumer materials or recycled materials?
Great question, Michael. So the recycled polyethylene terephthalate, so I'll just explain that here quickly. Basically, we take recycled plastic water bottles, crush them down into flake, chip, and fiber, and that recycled fiber is what's spun into each one of our pieces. And that I make sure that everything's made with at least 80% recycled PET. We do have to use a little bit of spandex to really make sure our products are functional.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that's higher than I was expecting as a number. So very impressed. My second question is, you identified two of the competitors. This is clearly a very busy space with a lot of different sales models. What is the current market share of the sustainable market in the total athletic wear? And how are you thinking of breaking into that as a sales model compared to what's currently on the market?
So currently it's valued at 79 million. And I'll just go off of my two main competitors right now. Woven, they are very yoga minded. We are more so all athletic minded. We're not just emphasizing our marketing towards yogis. Girlfriend Collective, they only address the female market. So we are targeting the male market, and we also remove 1 pound of waste from our shorelines. So a lot of our ambassadors as well as our customers are those scuba divers, they're surfers, they're very much into ocean advocacy.
Yeah, impressed. I think there's a lot of opportunity to present yourself as the Toms of athletic wear. Thanks for the opportunity to ask questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Hi, McKenna. You did a great job. I remember you from last year. You were in the competition last year, right?
That's right, Anthony. I was the freshman that went blank in front of everybody. Didn't happen this year.
No, very impressive. And I'm really impressed with the progress that you've made with the sales and so on. My main question is around, marketing. The first part of the question is, do you follow Gymshark?
I do follow Gymshark.
Okay. And I've been impressed with what they've been able to do, starting off with a brand and doing all sort of the athletic stuff for sort of the muscle heads and then kind of growing from there. How are you going to be able to, make a splash, so to speak, in this industry with so many competitors and everyone seems to have, some type of leggings? How do you think you can really stand out in an industry that seems to have new competitors overnight?
I think the biggest thing to look at here and to re-emphasize the fact that we are very much targeting ocean lovers as well as people that are environmentally eco-minded and active. I think we've already proven our model in our first year of business by diverting over 170,000 plastic bottles through $70,000 of revenue in our sales, and that's been through our ambassador program and micro targeting the people that are here that want to make change and believe in our mission and that want to be a part of removing 1 million pounds of waste from our oceans by 2025. I think that's what sets us apart.
Yep. And just one follow-up. Have you been able to get any organic marketing in terms of stories about the work that you've been able to do?
Yes. So we've been featured on multiple podcasts. Oh my goodness, I'm going blank with what they're called. But I've personally spoke about CAV athletics, and we've also been posted on a few blogs. There's also been multiple companies that have reached out to us, but I haven't wanted to pay to advertise on their websites.
Okay.
If that,
Cool. No, that's good.
yeah.
Once again, thank you. Great job. And I'll continue to watch and follow your progress. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, McKenna. And so our next presenter, Cyrus Movazaki. Cyrus, you're up.
Great, thank you. Perfect pronunciation as well. I'm Cyrus, a mechanical engineering student and junior here at Quinnipiac, and I'm the inventor of the Snow Assassin, which is an innovative solution to snow removal. It's essentially autonomous snow removal for those really bothersome mornings when you get out of your house and you realize there's a foot of snow on the ground and you got to clean off your car and clean off your driveway. Essentially what it does is it goes out every 30 minutes, clears a layer of snow, goes back, recharges, clears another layer of snow. It would also adjust this timing based on weather phenomena in the area. So it would go out more or less depending if it's going to snow a foot or only a couple inches. And my number one priority when making this was making it safe. You don't want this to eat your dog. You don't want this to run over your children. So I enabled an innovative solution to this using a brush, which is what a lot of you probably have seen cleaning crosswalks. It's like a bristled brush that spins at a high RPM to move snow out of the way. And since this would only be cleaning an inch or two of snow at a time, it's a really essential part of this. Next slide, please. The problems with snow, as many of you have experienced here in New England, we get a lot of snow, and a lot of the times it can be dangerous, as you see in the upper right. People crash their cars. I know my parents are getting older, so it's really a hazard going outside and not having a slip-free surface. And snow is fun when you're skiing. Everybody, those skiers around us like powder, but it's not as fun cleaning your driveway or walking around anywhere. And it's generally not even that good to use a snow blower. It's still a hard job. You still have to push the snow blower, and it's just not a fun time in general. Next slide, please. So I've incorporated a lot of innovative features into this, such as dual hub motors. And with the advent of electric vehicles, hub motors have become more efficient, more technological advancements in it. So I've been able to get a lot of power off the small system. And how the Snow Assassin would remove snow, it would have an infrared fence, just like those orange sticks you put on your driveway to have a snowblower come through. You'd have the same exact thing, except they would emit an infrared frequency, and the Snow Assassin would read this via a 3D camera. It's infrared capable, and it would go around avoiding obstacles and just taking the most efficient line to plow the most amount of snow in the least time possible. And it would also avoid cars, things you might have outside through these 3D cameras and artificial intelligence programming to avoid like certain things and that emit heat signals essentially, and big objects like cars. And also, if you look in the bottom left corner, I incorporated a salt spreader. So once it's finished its job, you don't have to worry about any icy surfaces or anything that could cause damage, anything that could cause your car to slip into traffic potentially. And even if, let's say, it was forecasted to rain, but the rain was at night and next morning it's going to be very slippery outside, you could just have the Snow Assassin go out, put a nice layer of salt down, and before you even wake up. This is completely autonomous. You don't have to even think about it. It's very simple, and my idea behind it was just a Roomba, but for your driveway. And nobody likes removing snow. Nobody likes the hazards that come along with removing snow. And it also has tank tracks. So it's capable of going out in multiple multiple inches of snow. But like I said earlier, it won't have to, because it is going to go out and very, very frequently and very often to remove a efficient amount of snow at a time. Also, as you can see in the top right picture, I incorporated sort of a hydraulic adjuster for the snow plower, just like you would see on a car, snow plower, snow pusher. And that adjusts the angle so you can really get into those tight corners. And with the hub motors and the battery capacity, I've projected this vehicle to clean 1,000 square feet of snow at a time, which is more than you would need considering the average driveway is 600 square feet. I've also made or scaled up multiple drawings of this. So if you have a small city home, you can get the smaller version, which would be less pricey, and it wouldn't need the huge motors that the larger versions would need for large driveways. And I've also thought about incorporating a larger version for people out in the countryside, out in more rural areas. And even if you have a dirt driveway, I've incorporated a version for that too that's really long, and it has different types of bristles for different systems. Next slide, please. So I've priced out this based on just products available on the internet. Of course, this doesn't have markets of scale incorporated, so a lot of these will be a lot cheaper than they were. And I was able to get this product out to $1,300, which is a lot cheaper than even a snow blower that you have to blow snow yourself. So you could easily price this at $2,500, $3,000, and still have a healthy amount of profit with people being willing to buy it because it's offering them a lot of value in return. They don't have to go out and break their backs plowing snow, shoveling snow. And I want to use metal 3D printing, which is essentially laying down metal filament and having a laser burn it into accumulating format. So it builds parts off of that, much like 3D printing. And these are sturdy parts that can be economically viable for a small manufacturer to start off with. Obviously, as I move up the market, I'm going to get bigger CNC machines that do the job quickly and efficiently without having to have many workers. Next slide, please. So my marketing strategy would be first to go on Indiegogo to get a lot of the funding for these CNC machines. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, Indiegogo is essentially a way of connecting you with your market. It connects you with customers and people alike in return for you selling them the product. So they're basically like pre-funding the product before production. So that way, you already have your market size available. I'm also looking at getting a patent for this, as was made prominent in the last presentation. It's very essential to get patents. So I'm trying to get a patent pending and get a patent lawyer to really figure this stuff out. And at first I would do small scale online selling to really lower the cost for consumers as well. And eventually, once I fill that market, I'm going to continue to sell online and get into bigger stores like Home Depot and Lowe's, where all these other snow blowers, shovels, and such are sold. And when they're put next to other products, it will really make them look silly. Like, who's going to choose a snow blower that you have to do yourself versus an autonomous snow blower, essentially? And yeah, and the snow blowing market is projected to grow to $2.9 billion by 2026. And it's at $2.4 billion currently, with a 2.6% growth rate each year. So it's really only going to get bigger. We're going to get more storms, and it's going to be a bigger problem in New England, especially. And that's all I have. I really appreciate all your guys' time. Thank you, the audience, and thank you to the judges. I'm willing to answer questions.
So Anthony, why don't you start off, and then we'll go to Mike C and then Mike H.
Great, Cyrus. Great job. And I'll place an order for one of those right now. Great job. I noticed that there are some other competitors on the market. Have you done any research regarding some of the other competitors or companies that are looking at bringing something to market?
Yeah, a lot of the competitors I've noticed have only had there's none that are actually brought into market, and there's very few that actually exist, and most of them are just DIY people that are doing it on their own driveway, and they're not trying to sell it to a mass market like this. And obviously it hasn't been sold in any stores. You can buy prototypes online that you have to drive with a remote control, and they don't do an efficient job. It's kind of like an RC car, if you can imagine it, with a blower up front. It's really not a perfected idea. And with my experience in engineering and also me pursuing a machinery technician position in the Coast Guard, I really feel I can bring this product to market and be able to manufacture at a high degree with the technical, with the expertise in software and things like that.
And just last follow-up. So are you currently working on a prototype now?
Yeah, so I did this model in SolidWorks, which is 3D design program. All my pictures were in SolidWorks, so it's already an established prototype. All I need was the materials, and at Quinnipiac, we have a CNC machine and we have a machining lab. I could build almost 100% of these things for it in the CNC machine and on the CNC lab, because I'm already trained on those, aside from the motors, obviously, and some of the trucks and the bearings and whatnot. So it's already ready to be produced. I just haven't had the necessary funding to make a prototype yet.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. I really enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cyrus, great concept. It would have taken an engineer to devise this, that's for sure. So really good. A couple questions for you. So as you know, we get a lot of nor'easters up here. Tell me how this machine works. A nor'easter starts around 8 o'clock at night and goes to 6 in the morning. It's going to dump anywhere from a foot to 20 inches of snow. Tell me how your blower works.
So much like a Roomba, it has a charging station, which can either be placed in your garage or outside, and it would read the forecast in the area via software, and it would go out at the predicted amount of snowfall. It would take that into consideration and go out the necessary amount of times to remove that snow before your morning commute. It would remove an inch or two of snow at a time, and it wouldn't be affected by weather that much. Even if you had a foot of snow, it would really take layers and layers off.
Wow.
It wouldn't have to deal with an abundance of snow.
That's pretty great. And how do you make sure that it stays on the driveway?
I have an infrared system established, much like the orange poles you'd put in the ground. They would be infrared. They would send out an infrared signal. So it would establish a border for it to go upon, and it would detect where your car was, where your house was.
Okay.
And it would avoid these obstacles and take the most efficient path to make it around.
Is that border expensive?
The border can be, infrared signals have gotten very cheap with the advent of cars, like electric cars. So these sensors have gotten very affordable, and you can establish them at a lower price point.
Okay.
And you wouldn't need many of them as well.
Great. Last question for you. I'm a big snow removal guy, and I respect what you're doing here, because you got a nice concept here for sure, but you really should get an attorney, patent attorney, to make sure you solidify your ideas. But the question I have for you is, the biggest thing with snow blowers, no matter whether you have 3 storms a year or 20 storms a year, is the maintenance that needs to get done and the repair and how quickly it could happen. What would you do? You sold these, and then all of a sudden, after a year or two, there's quick maintenance that needs to get done, and no one else has any snow blowers. I mean, you can go anywhere to get repair a snow blower these days, and they're quite busy. But how do you handle the maintenance and the actual repair for these?
Great question. I know I faced this when trying to fix our snowblower,
Right.
but I would have a warranty service, 3 years, 4 years warranty service. And it also wouldn't need as much repair as these gasoline powered motors. These are brushless stainless steel motors that don't need that much repair. And I would also make it with a corrosion free aluminum. So it really wouldn't, I'm making this to last a long time. I want this to be something somebody buys and it lasts 20, 30 years. I'm not interested in making a plastic, outsourcing it to China and these sorts of parts. But I would also offer a warranty service where you can send that back in and we'd replace the parts that need to be replaced and have it returned to you in a timely manner so you can continue to have snow-free driveways.
Okay, great. Nice job. Really impressive. Excellent.
I know we're over time, so I'll be a little bit quick. First thing is I would kick myself if I didn't give another plug for Make Haven downtown, which is another maker space that has some water jet cutters for metal and a few other things, as well as some folks that could be helpful with IP if you're looking for that for patenting. Throughout this, you're talking about sales that are direct to consumer, dealing with, I think, a very personal hassle of people going out and plowing their own driveways. But the organizations that are really paying for dealing with snow, having spent some time in local government, snowstorms are a huge expense with a lot of contractors brought on, and large corporate clients or institutions like schools pay quite a bit for snow removal. Have you thought about what institutional sales might look like? And is the current design for this able to handle larger volumes than a driveway that they might be looking for?
Yeah, I have looked into more industrial sales. Of course, schools and bigger facilities would go for my plus size model, which could go out to farther distances that are less recreational distances. It could maybe plow a mile of snow at a time without needing to be recharged. So yes, I have looked into that. I don't think this design particularly would be viable for street snow removal just quite yet. That's a pretty big step in the industry with automatic vehicles essentially, but I would be curious into looking into that market. But yes, of course, I would want to get into those bigger government contracts or bigger business contracts, instead of having these massive machines that remove snow, having just 2 or 3 of my snow assassin to remove snow would really be beneficial to them, and it would be beneficial to me as a company. I'm just trying to seek the most value for each person involved.
Absolutely. I would encourage you to think about that middle ground between a driveway and like the real street removal. Sidewalks are a key source. Our local business districts, like even downtown New Haven, spends quite a bit of money annually on sidewalk snow removal. And I imagine that for liability reasons, so do Quinnipiac University and a lot of other places that have walkways. And that could be a nice sweet spot to explore.
Thank you. Yeah, I do forecast that being a perfect sweet spot, because I took the brushless or the bristle system that a lot of snow removal from sidewalks, and I incorporated into that, so it's safe. It's a really safe product at the end of the day.
Well, thank you, Cyrus, and thank you, judges. Excellent job again, Cyrus. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We go to our next presenter, Isaac Burtis. Isaac, are you there? There he is. Okay, the floor is yours, Isaac.
Thank you guys so much for taking the time tonight. Want to just say this is, some hard acts to follow. Everyone else is doing really great, and I love to hear all this stuff. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name's Isaac, and I'm from Maine. So this is my family's oyster farm. This is their logo, and I'm proposing to bring in a new branch here, and we're going to grow kelp. So I'll tell you what that is. It's a macro algae. It's huge blades of seaweed, basically. There's a difference between seaweed and algae, but we don't need to get into that right now. So basically, I think if we go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about it. So last winter, I grew sugar kelp, which is just another type of kelp, and it didn't really go too well because the harvest season is April, and every restaurant that I had connected with throughout the winter was like, hey, I get a phone call from like every single restaurant saying, sorry, we're closed. Have a nice day, So it's tough. But I decided to take a year off and kind of do some more research on how to really do this effectively. And I made some more connections throughout the time, but I ended up winning for like the biology section, which I didn't think I would do that well, but I did a study on the effect of kelp in the environment, and it increases dissolved oxygen and increases pH. So it fights ocean acidification, which for me, owning a business that can help the water is like something really big for me, especially living on the coast. I also dig clams. So at low tide, I dig clams. High tide, I'm working the oyster farm with my family. And I figured, diversification is really important. So I wanted to, what else can I do on the water? How else can I profit from this? And that's kind of something about me as an entrepreneur, is finding any and every way to make money and just kind of taking advantage of those opportunities. And then the best part about this is that it's really beneficial for the water. So if you guys could just go to the next slide. So basically, what is the opportunity in the market for this? Seaweed is obviously not on every menu at this time, but as we go on, restaurants are more and more apt to use seaweed in their menus. And so it's going to be a bigger business in the future. So with that in mind, I really wanted to get my foot in the door with this. I really saw a big opportunity, and I'm pretty excited about this. So Sarah Redmond, the owner of Springtide Seaweed in Maine, said that she'll buy every pound of kelp that I can sell to her. So no matter what I do, she's like, I have all the connections and there's no possible way you can sell me enough. Because she ships overseas too. So she has all the distribution channels. Additionally, our oyster farm is connected with over 20 restaurants and wholesalers. So we have all of those distribution channels along the East Coast as well. We even ship across the country over to the West Coast. So with that in mind, the scalability here is tremendous. And I'll just talk about the numbers. I try not to talk about numbers. I think you got to be humble and not talk about those things, but this is the best time to do it. So it cost me around $2,000 for the setup, and I grew around 10,000 pounds of kelp. And if I were to have sold all of that, I have it written on this slide. Sarah said she'll buy. So 10 pounds of wet kelp dries to 1 pound of dried kelp. So it would be $15,000. So that's $13,000 profit. The only thing is that I need a greenhouse to dry it, and I will have the greenhouse FDA approved. Could you guys go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So I just want to talk about this. So the greenhouse that we're using will end up being FDA approved, which separates me from other growers. Now, there's only a couple of growers in Maine anyway, and that's why I really want to jump on this opportunity, because yes, it's a feasible opportunity. The profit margin is huge. And also getting my foot in the door early is going to give us to really make a difference in the market. So we already kind of have traction there. So, but yeah, the greenhouse is going to be really big. We have a lot of property, so we're fine to put it on there. And the FDA approval process is relatively simple. So basically, you hang blades of kelp, and you can see in the top left corner that they just kind of grow on the line there. And then we'll hang those over clotheslines in the greenhouse. Dry out, takes a week or two, depending on the weather. And then vacuum press them. And Sarah said she'll come with as many trucks as they need and take them away. Next slide, please. So basically, this is my dog. He was in the slideshow before. Thought you guys would appreciate. He loves being on the boat. So basically, why us? And that's something that, it's a big question for every entrepreneur, because, it's competitive. And I just want to talk briefly about my passion for this. Like, I spent my whole life on the water, and people notice that this has an ability to happen anywhere. I need a few feet of water and I can set up my system anywhere. And basically, our company already has a lot of leverage and market traction. So I think this has some serious potential to be scalable and really take off. Next slide, please. I think that's it. So yeah, we're good.
Well, thank you, Isaac. And this time we'll start with Anthony, and then go to Michael H, and then Michael C.
Yeah, great job, Isaac. Yeah, it's really fascinating that you're doing this, and it's great that you're getting, experience. And it's great that you already have someone who's willing to buy everything that you can grow. I know with any kind of farming, are there issues with yields in terms of, some years are better than others? And are there any issues with, the sea that can impact your yields?
So the only thing with that is the time that you harvest. Now, kelp has been cultivated for tens of thousands of years, and it's really one of the most solid products. Doesn't need any fresh water to grow. Their market quality, so it can get a lot of like other types of algae or protozoans on it. So you just have to make sure that you harvest it in a timely fashion before the water gets warmer, and those things are, in the water getting on your product, I guess. But no, there's not. I mean, every season is pretty much the same.
Yeah. And then last question, is there an opportunity to be a premium kelp in the market so you can position yourself to
Yeah.
demand a higher price?
Exactly. That's great. So with the oyster market, everything is, who has the finest oyster? And so I think I can get kelp into fine restaurants and kind of establish our brand and be really the first company to do that. So that'd be great for our family business.
Great. I love your enthusiasm and excitement.
much.
Good luck.
Isaac, very good presentation. Kelp is really exciting. I actually have been learning more about this last year, and one of the reasons why is because Southern Connecticut State University has an Icelandic researcher who's been working with them to try to set up a local ocean cluster strategy around kelp farming in the Long Island Sound. And so I was lucky enough to be one of the judges on their pitch competition this last summer, and there were 3 or 4 of those student products that were either kelp snacks, and even one that was a kelp candy, which I was not aware was a potential use. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity with that, and would love to connect you with them. They have some aspirations, for example, to do a local restaurant week challenge for kelp across New Haven. And I think that this could be a great partnership. My hope with that would be to see if we could, get you enticed to do some kelp growing down here.
For sure.
My question is, how do you see the challenge of changing American tastes related to kelp consumption? Because it's currently still a bit of a boutique and specialty item.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to get people to try it. If you know how to cook it, it's great. I make a mean kelp salad. So little Thai chilies in there, a little soy sauce, a little olive oil, a little garlic. Can't go wrong. So once people will try it, once you can get it out there, people talk about it. It's great, and it's great for you too.
Okay, thank you.
Isaac, great presentation and exciting. I do hear a lot about kelp out there these days, especially my wife who's organic and gluten-free and all that, and different restaurants. But I got a question for you. You got to tell me this truthfully. Does kelp spoil? And if it does, do you have to be concerned about that with your distributing this type of thing to restaurants? And how do you make sure that it's not?
So dried kelp has a shelf life of like 5 years at the least. Wow. So you don't have to worry about that. And then you can just add water to it and it'll kind of rehydrate itself. Okay. Fresh kelp has a shelf life of 2 weeks. So when you're doing direct sales of fresh seaweed, that's definitely something to worry about. No, it doesn't really affect you if it gets like old, but it's not bad for you. It's just probably not. I'm not really sure. It's the same as like lettuce. Like if it's wilted, it's not really going to hurt you, but it's not going to be the most enjoyable, I guess.
So back in the day when I was a jock and not a banker, before I tried to market something with some NHL veterans, and they made sure that we came out and got, and it was quite expensive, liability insurance to make sure that nothing did happen or someone had a reaction to it or spoiled whatever. Have you thought about the costs associated with liability insurance and what you would need?
Yeah, well, not only the costs, but because we're kind of in between the seafood and agricultural business, like there's not a lot of regulations on kelp right now. So that's kind of an ongoing thing. I've actually been working with the DMR in Maine to figure out these regulations as this market is up and coming. So I'll have to get back on you on that, but
Great.
Yeah.
And it was quite, it took me by surprise with the cost that we had to dish out. Of course, NHL salaries are much more than a poor banker's salary. So I was more protecting their net worth than mine at the time. But
Yeah.
I remember that was a big deal. Last question I have for you is packaging it. If you were to send it, you know, multiple states, globally, whatever, what would you do to package it? Would you have to package it differently? Would that be an added cost to it?
Not really. Pretty much just 3mm plastic bag,
Mhm.
vacuum sealed, works just fine. We're not really putting branding on the packaging because obviously it's, you know, you're not gonna buy a huge
Right.
count like per consumer, so it's not really the worry there, I guess. But
Well, great idea and great business. Good luck to
thanks
you.
so much.
Thank you, Isaac. And again, thank you, judges. Our next presenter is Brian Stackhouse. Brian, are you there? Brian, take yourself off mute. So Brian is having some trouble unmuting. Hannah, can you unmute him?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Brian. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yep. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and get started then. Okay. My name is Brian Stackhouse. I am a fourth-year medical student here at the Netter School of Medicine at Quinnipiac University. I saw this pitch competition as a great way for me to combine my background and training in healthcare with my genuine interest in technology and innovation. And I thank all involved for your time and giving me the opportunity. So I wanted to start with a little story because it illustrates what many of us have gone through or will go through in our lifetime. And more importantly, it will set the stage for why I believe my solution will be high impact. And with that, I'll jump right into it. So can you please go to the next slide? So imagine you're sitting at home or at work, or maybe you're just out and about living life in an increasingly fast-paced and demanding world. Suddenly you feel a tight discomfort in your belly area. You may not think much of it at first, but soon you have sudden and strong urges to get to a bathroom. Hoping that relieving yourself will bring some comfort, instead, you're faced with a unique and unforgettable burning sensation as you pee. Over the next day or two, it's like clockwork. Increased urgency to urinate, burning and discomfort when you do relieve yourself, and the urine itself is often cloudy or strong smelling. When enough is enough, you make your way down to the local urgent care, or if you're more fortunate, you have a primary care provider who can squeeze you in for a last-minute appointment. And what happens there is pretty standard, as this medical problem is extraordinarily common. You tell your doctor, I've been peeing fire for the past few days, and he or she will have you go in a cup, and a few minutes later, they'll return to let you know you have a urinary tract infection. Here's some antibiotics. You follow their advice, and after a couple of days with medication, you're back to square one. That is, until the next urinary tract infection rears its head. And that's generally how the story plays out, if you're lucky and able-bodied. But what if you're a child? Or what if you're an older individual who may not be as aware or mobile? Or what if you're simply a busy man or woman who thinks there should be a do-it-yourself solution at home, so you only have to take time to go to the doctor if necessary? And that's the premise where I start. Next slide, please. Ooh, yeah, didn't show it quite right. As I mentioned, urinary tract infections, also known as UTIs for short, are extremely common in America, and they're only increasing in incidence year after year. The story I just told is a common beginning to over 7 million outpatient medical office visits per year, over 1 million emergency department visits, and when things unfortunately go untreated and progress, UTIs result in over 100,000 hospital admissions year to year. There may be many causes for this observation, but the bottom line is that all of these numbers are rising, and something needs to be done. As you can probably guess, with such a common health problem, the industry behind testing and diagnosing UTIs is equally as substantial. But how exactly do we test and diagnose for UTI? The simple answer is the urinalysis, which is just a blanket term for a variety of tests that look for biological molecules in the urine that can clue healthcare providers in on different problems. And it's a subset of these tests where I think I can do better than available products. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, the urinalysis is the workhorse diagnostic test for urinary tract infections, and the market is big. Research and Markets, a leader of industry research, released a recent report that estimated that the global urinalysis market is projected to reach US dollars of 4.6 billion by 2024, up from 3.2 billion in 2019. This is an almost 50% increase over the next 5 years. This growth is in part due to the growth of home-based urinalysis tests for UTIs. The huge base of the target population, combined with the high amount of unmet clinical need, as well as a desire for lifestyle-friendly solutions, all work together to provide the home-based urinalysis market with a large pool of opportunities for potential growth. To capitalize on these opportunities, the development of diagnostic tools that can respond to these clinical and lifestyle needs and do so with convenience and at an affordable price is the end goal of my product. Next slide, please. So you may be thinking, of course, people should be able to test for UTIs at home. Can't they do that already? Well, the answer is they can test at home. The problem is they can't do it all that well with available products. They are either wasteful and one-time use. They require you to perform some sort of balancing act to pee into a collection container, which no one is happy about handling themselves or eventually disposing of. And if you do get results, they're more often than not confusing to understand with many scales and lines. And even worse, if you can understand them, they can and do give you inaccurate results because they largely rely on unspecific biological markers like nitrites and leukocyte esterase that can at best diagnose UTI about 70% of the time. Next slide, please. And that's where UTI Identify comes in. Imagine being the young man or woman from our earlier story, or a caregiver of a child, or a disabled or elderly individual who has symptoms suspicious of UTI. And instead of grinning and bearing it until those symptoms progress to the point that forces you to the doctor, what if you had an easy way to test yourself at home and get answers early, translating to earlier treatment if needed, or saving you a potential trip to a healthcare provider if the test was negative, with high certainty, saving you money and time. My idea is simple in concept. Step 1, insert a fluorescent antibody filter into the toilet. Step 2, relieve yourself onto the filter. Step 3, observe for a color change. And that's it. It's really that easy. The science behind using fluorescent antibodies to tag infectious organisms and cause them to emit color is well developed. And I intend to use this technique to create home-based UTI kits that are cheap, semi-reusable, easy to operate, and diagnostically accurate. Customers would ideally be able to buy a reusable device that could be loaded with one-time use filters purchased separately, with each insertable filter being very accurate at detecting specific infectious organisms in the urine in a toilet. Estimates place the chance of getting a UTI in your lifetime at 50 to 60% for women and 6 to 8% for men, meaning the potential customer base is very large, even if only a fraction of people take on the idea in the beginning. My origin story for UTI Identify actually came from an incident a few months ago where my own father was hospitalized due to a urinary tract infection. I sat for a while wondering how he and my mother could have prevented his sickness, especially when getting to a doctor is so difficult during the pandemic. I began brainstorming and came up with the basic idea behind UTI Identify. And most people who I've described it to up to this point have told me it could be quite useful in a medicine cabinet. And that inspires me that there's interest. Next slide, please. Moving forward, I envision the next steps for moving this project along as being the following. First and foremost, I would like to conduct a test case with the most common UTI culprit, E. coli. This involves creating or purchasing a fluorescent antibody probe that reacts to this specific bacteria and use those probes as a test case to work out the best filter/delivery design, as well as optimizing color changes from positive tests. From there, it should be possible to extend designs to less common organisms. As a biomedical engineer by training prior to medical school, I have experience in designing and executing projects of this type, and I know how to leverage my knowledge and scientific contacts. I'll be taking the next academic year away from clinical schoolwork to conduct research. And during that time, I anticipate and will work towards building a functional prototype. In conclusion, the entire medical field is moving towards more self-diagnosis and more self-treatment of common issues. And I truly believe there is a need, desire, and untapped potential in reforming the workflow and how we diagnose and treat UTI. And UTI Identify is just a simple but impactful solution towards more patient-centered care, which is our goal. Thank you for your time and attention, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you, Brian. And on this round, let's start with Michael C, and then we'll go to Michael H, and then Anthony.
Oh, can you see me? I see your, can you turn on your camera? I see it turn on your, can you guys all see me?
We could not see you.
You cannot.
You can turn, yeah, you can turn your camera on now.
Oh, my camera is on. Oh, that's interesting.
Is it covered?
I don't think so. I can see myself in the, let me see, stop video and start video again. Can you see me now?
There you go. There you go.
Am I there?
Great.
Okay. Sorry about
you.
that.
So
Yeah.
Brian, you put a lot of thought into this, and I think we all know UTIs and how difficult they can be. That you don't plan UTIs, right? They come up all different types of travel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what happened to my father.
So my biggest, not concern, my biggest obstacle would be, how do you get that filter officially medically approved so that when you're testing at home, the doctor believes you provided the right thing? Because the MD is going to have to be able to prescribe a prescription for you if needed. So instead of going in there to get it done, how do you do that?
Yeah, so there are sort of two ways to go about that. So obviously, if you want something to have the FDA stamp of approval to where it can actually be prescribed by an MD, then you have to go through those channels. It's possible. I've actually been on earlier projects prior to medical school that have done that sort of thing. So I'm familiar with the process, but it's a little bit less stringent if you're trying to market something that's over the counter, as opposed to going through a pharmacy prescription. And it's a little bit less stringent and faster. So my idea was to first work on getting something that's available over the counter, because I believe that will provide more access to people and a prescription. But if it catches on, then moving to a prescription as well is a definite possibility, because then that extends the way that people, I think, can finance the product through insurance or through Medicaid, Medicare.
Correct. But then you're dealing with, you go over the counter, it won't be strong enough, the person can get worse. UTIs multiply very, very, very quickly, and you get concerned about the healthcare of individuals, even though what you're trying to do is a big help. And you could see the numbers that you had there. I believe those numbers, it's got to be a huge part of the industry.
Absolutely.
Even emergency rooms, I think, have a lot of people that go there with those types of issues. So that's the hurdle that I see there. However,
and sorry, I would say one more thing to that. So when I say home-based, I also want to include nursing homes or facilities where caregivers are taking care of patients who may not be able to verbalize symptoms quite as well. And I find that to be also a great market to break into, because it, one, makes the job a little bit easier for the caregiver to be able to administer these sorts of tests, and two, it just helps out more vulnerable individuals. So.
Great, great. I don't have any other questions. You're onto something here. I think it's self-diagnosis and self-treatment is huge in today's world. I just wish you a lot of luck with everything you're doing. You're a smart guy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brian, you really dropped us in the deep end there with the first slide you threw up.
Sorry?
You dropped us in the deep end a little bit with the first slide that you threw up. Definitely appreciate the choice that you made there. It was a bit of an opening shock value.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going for, to set the stage a little bit.
Yeah, just for my personal taste, opening with a slide that gives us the name of your company and like a little bit of an intro before you launch into that might take more people along with you. That's a presentation question though. One factual question: I was really shocked by that graph. UTIs have doubled in the past 20 years.
Yes, it's quite the phenomenon. The slide itself was a little bit cut off, so there's some information on there that wasn't displayed. But the reasoning behind that, it's multifactorial. It could be the rise of risk factors like diabetes in the population as a risk for UTIs. It could be that we're administering tests a little bit more frequently. So there's that effect as well. But the end result is, yes, UTIs are rising at an astonishing rate. And there haven't been really any major developments in personalized medicine for being able to address that, which is why, I wanted to pursue this.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea. I think that New Haven and Yale New Haven Health Systems has a lot of potential partnerships for this type of healthcare delivery very locally. Agreeing with one point that Michael made, UTI testing is usually something that people are engaging with in a moment of crisis, and it takes perhaps superhuman responsibility to plan ahead for being ready for that. And so I did have a question about what it meant to be selling multi-use testing for something that people would be encountering in an acute moment, and particularly given a price point if you're choosing between your product and something that might be a single use. So I'm very happy to hear that you're thinking about group home settings that might have real efficiencies in those, in like multi-use devices, but would very much encourage that comparison to think about systems rather than individual purchases, given if the consumer's in crisis in the aisle at Rite Aid, where they might be landing.
No, that's a great point. I envision actually the end goal as being something that can be actually engineered into toilets to where it's continuous sampling. But I want to work out being able to create something that can be used on a moment-to-moment basis prior to extending the design to something that can be outfitted on toilets and give you that sort of information even when you're not expecting it.
I think that's a sci-fi future of personalized medicine that's interesting and exciting to contemplate, and would say, as you develop this, don't stop dreaming big in that direction as well.
Sci-fi is coming sooner than we would think. They have similar water sampling products for waste treatment plants, we'll say. Yeah, so now it's just extending those sorts of technologies to medicine. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brian. Great presentation. I think the future of medicine is evolving, and maybe in the future there's going to be something in our toilet that can analyze our urine on an annual basis or every time we go to the bathroom. So I think, you're onto something. Just two questions. How long do you think it would take to actually get this product to market? And is there an opportunity to license or partner with someone with deep pockets to help you move this forward?
I would love that sort of opportunity in terms of timelines. So I mentioned very briefly, so I'm actually taking a year from medical school. I finished my final clinical year this past April to actually work on research and building this potential product and prototype. And my goal is to have the antibody probes and the design complete actually by the end of this year. And I've already begun setting up the lab, the laboratory space to be able to do that during my research year. So that is the goal. And I think I can do it because I've worked in these sorts of engineering groups before and have had similar projects creating antibody probes as part of my master's degree. So I think I can do it in a pretty reasonable timeline given. And then hopefully move forward from there.
Yep. Thanks. And just to follow up, just a general comment, I know that in Connecticut, there was a company that created a portable MRI called Butterfly, and it was invented here in Connecticut, and it uses the phone to create an MRI. So I think you're in a good state for something like this, and I wish you luck in going forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. Excellent presentation again. And so we next go to Sam, Miguel, and Greg from MSK. So I think I turn it over first to Sam.
Hey everyone, my name is Sam Wadawali. I'm also a fourth year medical student. So it was great seeing Brian's presentation. Great job, Brian. Thank you. I'm here today with my co-founders, Dr. Greg Pereira and Miguel Rasa. So the three of us are co-founders of MSK Curbsider.
Hey there, guys. I'm Dr. Pereira, who Sam just mentioned. I'm a orthopedic surgeon at Duke University, and I'm also a co-founder with Sam and Miguel.
And hi, everybody. My name is Miguel Rasa, and like Sam said, I'm a fourth year medical student at the Frank H. Center School of Medicine. So I'd like to kick us off and talk a little bit about MSK Curbsider. So MSK Curbsider is a web-based platform designed to guide emergency room doctors to manage patients with orthopedic injuries. So to provide everyone a little bit of background, every year there are over 200 million emergency room and urgent care visits with a musculoskeletal chief complaint. A study analyzing the cost of care in medicine found musculoskeletal complaints to be the most expensive cost category. And in the US, there are over 232,000 physicians who manage these complaints, but only 8% are orthopedic surgeons. As such, non-orthopedic doctors take care of the vast majority of patients with musculoskeletal problems. However, less than 3% of the medical school curriculum is dedicated to treating these conditions. As a result, the medical literature has shown time and time again that non-orthopedic providers are inadequately trained in musculoskeletal medicine, leading to misdiagnosis and mismanagement. Our solution is a web-based point-of-care platform designed to improve medical decision-making in real time. It can be used on any device with internet access and offers clinical decision-making tools with critical billing information and integrated video-based tutorials. MSK Curbsider can improve clinical care as a whole while saving doctors valuable time. It will also increase the accuracy of procedural billing, all of which provide higher revenue to the hospital. To better understand the learning tools available today, Dr. Pereira will explain how our product addresses an unfulfilled niche in medical education.
Thank you, Miguel. Yeah, I appreciate that. So, there are two broad categories of resources that currently exist: anecdotal and evidence-based. Anecdotal resources tend to be things like Google, Wikipedia, and YouTube, which the common public uses, while healthcare providers tend to use resources that are based on the medical and scientific literature. Currently, within musculoskeletal medicine, there are three broad categories of tools that have been developed, and those are resources for board exam preparation, clinically relevant information, and real-time care. For board exam preparation, there are numerous tools, and they're relatively self-explanatory. They help doctors pass their medical boards. For clinically relevant information, there are many long textbook-based resources, and these tend to be the 1,000-page dusty textbooks you see on doctors' shelves. And while they're comprehensive, they tend to be very difficult to navigate in real time. For real-time care, the apprenticeship model in medical education tends to be the best way to learn clinical pearls, and it is a very efficient way of learning. However, it's based on willing, knowledgeable, and competent mentoring clinicians, and it's impossible to standardize at scale. So now looking at the overlap between the circles on the Venn diagram, you can see there's no tool that helps you for board exam preparation and real-time care. And I'd argue you don't need to have a tool for this because board exam preparation tends to be highly theoretical versus real-time tools tend to be highly pragmatic and practical. There's currently one tool that currently exists for board exam preparation and clinically relevant information. That's known as orthobullets. And that is widely used among orthopedic surgeons and orthopedic providers like myself. However, it's of limited use for non-orthopedic providers like the urgent care or emergency physician because the focus is on surgical management. As of now, there's no tool that currently condenses distilled clinically relevant information into something navigable for use in real-time care. So this is really the niche that our platform would hope to provide and hope to fill. And really this platform would help those non-orthopedic providers that Miguel mentioned, the late night, emergency physician who's, working from 7 p to 7 a.m. and that has little support, the overworked urgent care doctor. And it really helps those physicians take care of the patient in front of them in real time. So next, Miguel is going to walk you through the solution.
Okay, so we're going to take you to the landing page for MSK Curbsider.
Sorry, guys, I don't know why. You go ahead, Miguel.
Sure, but we're going to have to see the website first to talk about it.
I'm sorry. Here, can you guys see me now?
Yep, looks like there it is.
Okay.
Can you maximize it, Greg?
Yeah, I'm trying. Here we go. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so on the left, you can see we've grouped our chief complaints by anatomic region. The MSK Curbsider chief complaint pages gives all the information a provider would need to properly care for common musculoskeletal problems. Today, we'll be taking a look at how a physician would work up a metacarpal fracture. This is a fracture of the hand commonly encountered in the emergency room. Since the emergency physician may only treat this condition a few times a month, they can quickly open up this page for guidance on all the major steps they need to care for the patient. On MSK Curbsider, a physician can review the key questions that will provide clarity about the diagnosis, essential physical exam findings to look for, critical imaging studies that should be ordered, and radiographic parameters to understand the injury. Curbsider then provides a plan based on best practice guidelines, as well as critical information on performing musculoskeletal procedures. It begins by presenting pictures of the material needed to perform the procedures. It then exhibits how to actually perform this procedure with professionally edited videos and written guides. So next, Curbsider helps with one of the most time-consuming parts of patient care, documentation. It provides templated procedure notes written by experts that can be directly copied into the medical record to ensure medical legal coverage and maximal compensation for the provider and hospital. And finally, it imparts critical billing information for the procedure. And remember, this is not just for hand fractures. Our team of medical experts have created this content for over 100 different musculoskeletal emergencies. And that wraps up our quick look at MSK Curbsider. Next, in order to review the financial viability of our product, Sam is going to talk about how the addressable market size will translate into high net returns on capital for investors.
Thank you, Miguel and Greg. So yeah, let's talk about the numbers. So there are over 143 million ED and 89 million urgent care visits annually pertaining to musculoskeletal complaints. These patients present to 4,300 EDs and 9,600 urgent cares nationwide, with about 90,000 total providers. However, I would like to direct your eyes to the EDs and urgent cares. Our goal is to sell a platform at the institutional level. Currently, most large academic institutions subscribe to UpToDate, a point-of-care tool that doctors reference for the treatment plans. However, it doesn't cover procedural musculoskeletal management, and so this is where we come in. UpToDate charges institutions over $20,000 a month. Because it offers such a large database, their fees rarely accepted and happily accepted by hospitals. With our more targeted content, we picked a highly conservative monthly cost of $1,000. With 13,900 ED and urgent cares and an annual fee of $12,000, the market size of this platform is approximately $166 million. With a goal of 10% market penetration in 5 years, our future income would be approximately $16 million. Now Miguel can give you, a quick walkthrough of our steps and where we are in our product development.
So the first stage in our product development was identifying and understanding the flaws in musculoskeletal care and how we could best address this problem. The second stage involved market research on other point-of-care tools that exist to inform the design of our product. We're currently in the third stage of development, building a prototype platform with our team of medical students, orthopedic surgery residents, emergency medicine residents, web designers, illustrators, and builders. At this stage, it's critical that we contract a graphic designer before we are able to pilot our platform. We estimate this will cost about $75 an hour, or about $3,000 total to design our desired minimally viable product. If chosen, we'd plan to use the winnings from this pitch competition to achieve this goal. The fourth stage is piloting our product. Duke's Division of Emergency Medicine has already agreed to pilot our platform in a quality improvement study later this year. We hope to show improved patient outcomes and implications on billing. We also plan to get iterative feedback throughout this entire process. The final stage is product launch, along with marketing to other emergency rooms and urgent care centers to continually expand our platform. Thank you all so much for your time. We'd love to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Greg, Miguel, and Sam. So this time, let's start with Anthony and then go to Michael H. and then Michael C.
Great, gentlemen. I think the future of medicine is in good hands with your presentation. Thanks a lot. This is sort of a question that sort of personally, should we be concerned that there is someone on duty that doesn't have this expertise? I mean, should that be something that as a potential patient, should I be concerned about this issue right now?
I mean, honestly, I don't want to alarm anybody, but, as somebody who during my junior resident years was going to the ER and, I mean, Duke, I was at Duke, right? And I was at Penn before that, both very prominent and good medical centers. In lower resource settings though, where you don't have an on-call person in orthopedics in-house, it is scary because there was a study that showed that at the end of medical school, 87% of medical graduates failed a standardized simple test on musculoskeletal medicine and diagnosis. So without, and thereafter, the training doesn't get any, significantly better because the only people that are dedicated to that are orthopedics. And that's really the etiology and the creation of this. We have people who are interested in emergency medicine and obviously orthopedic surgery. And this has been a collaborative effort to try to address kind of a multidisciplinary problem.
Yep, thanks. And then the other part of that is there a liability issue for the hospital if there's someone on staff who doesn't know this, area? Is there a potential liability for the facility?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even at very, strong top 10 institutions, Penn and Duke both being included, they, we had several 7-figure litigation suits at some of our smaller offset hospitals because of mismanagement. And, again, there's huge medical legal issues and liability. And, unfortunately, we see them in M&M, like morbidity and mortality. But that's another, in addition to the billing revenue or the increased revenue through billing and the improved patient care, offsetting litigation and medical legal risk is absolutely a potential benefit of our product.
Yeah, great. In closing, I think with the market opportunity that you presented, there's a liability issue. You're able to bill and get money back quicker. And there's an efficacy issue in terms of, treating the patient. So I think there's a great market opportunity here. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much enjoyed the presentation, particularly including the walkthrough of the actual interface, seeing what doctors would be seeing. I have family who does orthopedic manual therapy, and so very much sympathize with and understand that most American doctors are not trained in too much depth on soft tissue and skeletal injuries. Here in New Haven, New Haven Health has actually been a great first customer for a series of digital health companies, including Patient Wisdom and Inbox Health, both of which relate to billing. And so my two questions relate to the ways that your company differs from that. The first is, can you walk me through a little bit more detail how you would be helping the hospitals improve their billing with this platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So are you able to still see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
So we can just walk through metacarpal fractures. So honestly, from a billing stance, the most valuable section is the bottom section. After obviously the materials and the procedural walkthroughs where we tell you how to perform the procedure, billing is kind of a black box for a lot of physicians. During my residency, I was never trained on it. And what we had to do is went to the AAPT book. Sam and Miguel actually led this, and they went and identified every CPT code that was specific to all the different common diagnoses that we see as orthopedists, that emergency medical doctors see in the ERs and urgent cares. And what we've done is we put the CPT code next to the procedure. So meaning every procedure in medicine gets a CPT code, which is how hospitals bill, and they get something called RVUs, which is relative value units. We've essentially we've taken all that information and we've integrated it into the workflow of doctors. So when they're going through this and they figure out what they're going to do, what their plan is, what procedure they're going to do, they know, number one, what they need, number two, how to do it with either visual or written steps. And then finally, at the end of all that, they know what the CPT code is and how many RVUs they anticipate on getting. And RVUs, for those of you who don't know, they're functionally like poker chips for the hospital. That is how they're given an arbitrary amount of money from like Medicare, Medicaid. And essentially, this just demystifies the process. So for example, if you were to say, okay, I'm going to put on an ulnar gutter splint versus I'm going to like reduce the fracture, which means set the fracture, I would have 0.5 RVUs for the application of the splint versus 2.3 RVUs for actually fixing the fracture in the ER. And this essentially demystifies the billing process. The other thing to consider is most ER doctors don't do all these procedures every night. So they don't know these the CPT codes. They don't know how many RVUs they're getting. And oftentimes billing gets missed because if you don't actually put a procedure note, you can't bill. So for these doctors, it kind of streamlines that whole workflow so that they can put the correct code, they know how much they're getting, they have the procedure note, and then it gives all the different possible procedures for a common complaint that they see.
Yeah, this is impressive. I will say I've seen a number of digital health proposals and interfaces, and I think this gets my commendation for the clarity, particularly for a layperson in laying out those steps. So very impressed. My last question or comment would sort of relate. I haven't seen that many digital health platforms that directly guide or advise patient care. And I'm wondering what that means for the potential liability or insurance that you would need to carry as a platform. Most of the other applications that I've seen are interfaces, billing backend, or sort of wellness coaching. What does it mean if you get it wrong while you're advising a doctor?
Absolutely. So we talked to some other point of care platform developers. The giants were some like UpToDate, for example, and they all have essentially bulletproof EULAs, end user licensing agreements, which essentially state that even with perfect care, so if you give perfect care to 1 billion people, there'll probably still be 1 million or 2 million people who have a bad outcome. And that is just the nature of healthcare in general. So an end user licensing agreement would essentially state that we got this information from best practice guidelines from the literature, from the medical literature, and it's essentially the standard of care. However, that is not to say, number one, that you were to use this over your clinical judgment as a physician. And then number two, we essentially wash our hands of obviously the outcome, because again, like we said, if you do perfect care, you can't assume that the patient is going to have the best outcome. You hope that that's the case, and that's what, again, the medical literature says. However, it's impossible to give everybody a good outcome. So there was a lot of talk about that end user licensing agreement and what that exactly means.
Yeah, I'm glad there's a lot of focus on that, particularly both because it's guiding care and there's the unintended consequences of putting the income or the prices next to some of these procedures. But glad that you're thinking about that.
Absolutely.
I know we're pressed for time, so I'll just ask one quick question. So the liability does concern me. Great presentation overall on what you're trying to do here. I get concerned when you look at the liability overall. You look at some type of error that could happen. What would be successful for you 3 years from now using this curbside? What would you like to see happen? How would you like to see it used?
Absolutely. So I think success for us as measured from clinical improvement would not be improving the ceiling, but improving the floor of care, meaning doctors who are perfect, who are very competent. There's a range, just like everything, athletes, business people, etc. But for doctors that are very, very well versed in musculoskeletal medicine, this may not actually improve their care. This may just be a billing tool. However, for physicians who are not very comfortable with musculoskeletal management, as again, all that medical literature showed, the goal would be to help them do right by the patient, to temporize them until they can see somebody like myself or my colleagues in orthopedics. And again, that would lead to obviously less bad patient outcomes, medical legal problems, and litigation. But really, again, the whole goal is to improve that floor of patient care. It's to raise the floor up so that general emergency room musculoskeletal care is in a better place 3 years from now than it is now.
Right.
That was actually the impetus for Duke. We had leadership at Duke, like the program director and chairman stated they wanted this at Duke because, again, if we can raise that floor of care, not only is it a billing opportunity and increased bill capture, but it will help Duke as a whole look better. So, we would love to take this to other hospitals everywhere.
Great answer. And the last question I have for you, you put a ton of work into this agreement here with everything's here. How often with medical would you have to update this to make sure that it's on the cutting edge? How often would you go back there and look at that?
That's an excellent question. The biggest thing that changes, because obviously the care that we've provided, our surgeries sometimes change, but our non-operative, meaning our immediate management in the emergency room, very rarely if ever changes. Socrates and since the days of the Greeks, they've looked at splinting, right? So that doesn't change. The thing that does change sometimes is the billing, like as far as the CPT codes and the ICD-10 codes. There used to, for example, 4 years ago, I think when I was in, or more than that, several years when I was in medical school and the start of residency, they had ICD-9 codes, which are the diagnostic codes for any medical problem. So those we would have to update. And then if they were to change or add billing procedures, like these quote unquote CPT codes, which are truly just the code to every sort of procedure billed for in medicine, then we can update that. And I think that would be probably maximum every 2 years. And that's maximum.
Nice job, everybody. Really, really great.
Well, thank you, Sam, Greg, and Miguel. Very good job, and a great job for all of the presenters. On behalf of the center, we give you all props for your presentations and the dedication and the work that you put into this. We're now going into the stage where the judges will go into a breakout room and discuss their analysis of what they've seen tonight. And Hannah, I'm going to ask you to create that breakout room and have the judges go there. And we're going to give the judges about 15 minutes to come up with their decision. And if they need less time, they can take less time. But we'll take about a 15-minute break. And so what we'll do is you can take a break, and I would say come back to this room. And we'll have the final results of the judges. So let's set up the breakout room.
If any of our audience members at this time would like to ask a question for a participant tonight, go ahead and either ask it now, you can unmute yourselves, or you can just text it in the chat.
This isn't a question, it's a comment to Stackhouse. Hey man, I love your idea. Just as a side note, I mean, we see all sorts of older people with delirium secondary to UTIs, and it's an awesome product, awesome idea. Just wanted to say, big fan. So great job.
Thank you. Yeah, to you and to everyone else as well. I mean, I was super impressed by everyone's projects and ideas. It was really, really fun to watch everyone and see what has changed just since last week.
Well, we are back from the judges' quarters, the chambers. I first want to tell the 7 finalists tonight how outstanding their presentations were, how great their research and work was to develop their businesses, and for some of you to actually see sales is phenomenal. Quinnipiac School of Business, the People Center are very proud of what you guys have presented this evening. That being the case, it was a very difficult decision that the judges had to rank the final 3 winners for the 2021 pitch competition. But we came to a consensus on who those winners are. And so I first want to tell you in sort of dramatic fashion that the number 3 prize is going to Isaac Burtis from Ferta Farms. So Isaac, congratulations on being the 3rd place finisher in the 2021 pitch competition. The number 2 winner is Siav. So McKenna Haas, congratulations on being selected the number 2 winner of the 2021 pitch competition. And our grand prize winner for the pitch competition in 2021 is MSK Curbsider, the team of Sam, Miguel, and Greg. So again, congratulations to all 3. I will get out an email to the winners and to all of the participants tonight. You can expect to hear from me tomorrow. But if you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me. And again, I would encourage all of the participants to continue the good work of developing their ideas and their businesses. We thought that the judges thought that all of these businesses have a great chance of success. So keep at it. If you keep at it and go get through the challenges that all entrepreneurs and innovators have, you know, there's a prize at the end of the road. So keep at it. And again, I also want to thank all of the folks that were on the call today and participated by viewing these presentations. I hopefully you learned something as well. And if there are any of the folks who are participating who want to get in touch with these students, you know where to find them. They're at Quinnipiac, and if you can't find them, you can call us, and you can call me, and I'll make some introductions. But thank you so much for participating in the 2021 pitch competition. This year was different because of COVID, so it was all virtual. There's some advantages and disadvantages, but I really wish that we could have done this live so we could see you guys live. But this will have to do this year. Next year, it will be live. But thank you and good night. Hannah, do you have any other comments before we close?
No, have a good night. Great job, everyone. Thank you, judges. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, judges, for your participation. And again, congratulations to all.
Our pleasure.
Great. Good night, everyone.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Everybody.
Great job.
Fantastic
Great job,
Nice
everyone.
job, everybody. You all worked hard.